Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching Fanboy.
A fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
I assume Tom.
This year, we're calling this the Friday Night Creature Feature at the 31st Annual San Antonio Film Festival with Damsel of the Doomed. Today, I have with me Corey Trahan and Scarah, the Damsel of the Doomed, talking about their film. This was a fun, I don't want to say horror because it's not horror. Let's say it's like Elvira meets psychological thriller. Does that work for you?
Yeah, I would say that works, and with horror elements. I think there's elements of horror. There's such a wide and vast genre that horror is and encapsulates. And I think anytime there's death on screen, you can include horror into it. But yes, what you said is it's much more of kind of a story based with,
With Gothic elements.
Fun elements.
Yeah.
Inspired by Elvira
Right.
for sure, and other things in my life.
Well, that's fantastic. Like I said, the film was fun. How did the story come about? Because I know you two have worked with each other on other Scarah projects, but now we have this full feature that's coming to San Antonio. So take us through how the two of you met and how you began working together that led us to this point.
Yeah, well, Scarah and I met 2018, 19 or so.
18, I believe.
I have Halloween theme parks that I own in Texas, and through a mutual friend, my partner in my theme parks, I met Sarah, and she was initially going to be involved as a makeup artist. She obviously does great makeup, and as makeup and effects for the parks, but we quickly connected and sort of moved on to more sort of intimate creative things, like particularly in the capacity of Webb, which is our now film production company. And so we moved to doing interviews and with the horror community, which was a lot of the sort of origination of this film sort of came from now, and I'll let Scarah speak to the actual story, but a lot of the connections and the locations were created by the Webb team, and Scarah and I going out and interviewing people in the Gothic and horror community in Austin. So we did that for a while until we finally decided to let's make a film, or let's make a couple films actually. So.
Yeah, I'll add on to that. So Corey's absolutely right. We did these interviews and through events and things like that, and we put them up on a YouTube channel. And then I started doing movie reviews from my bathtub, and we called that Tub of Terror. And this and that and this and that, all sorts of funny things in the spooky community. And we made a lot of friends within the Central Texas area involved in horror and goth and whatnot. If they were anybody in that realm, we pretty much knew them and they knew us. And Corey we got a new camera, and I remember our DP, Donovan Kavanaugh, was following me around in the castle at Corey's haunted attraction. And it looked really cool. I was carrying a candelabra, the golden flames on my face. And that footage inspired Corey to write a movie called Witch's Bargain, which I was in. That movie led to him writing another one. Corey's a guy that inspiration leads to inspiration with him. He's always doing something, which is wonderful. And then he wrote a movie called The Black Quarry, which I served as a horror host that introduces the film, like how they used to do back in the day, with the crypt, Tales from the Crypt and whatnot, Creep Show, those types of things. And when we did that, we thought, what if we make it an anthology? Because at the time, The Black Quarry was a horror short. What if we make it an anthology? You write one, I write one. I'll introduce them both as a horror host, and away we go. So I wrote Damsel of the Doomed, and it's based on a lot of true experiences with a little bit of, fiction in there. And
Yeah, I don't see your mom being burned at the stake in real life.
Yeah, well, that's the true part, actually.
Oh, really? Oh,
But so I wrote that one, and I wrote it, and it was long. It was feature length because I've never really written anything that long before, and it just happened to be that long. And we shot it, and Corey directed it and edited it and did all sorts of stuff for it on the post production end. And we decided that the pacing was great, and we didn't want to cut it down any to force it into a short, and so it became its standalone thing. Although it is tied to the Black Quarry, so that's streaming right now. If anybody wants to see that one, it ties to Damsel of the Doomed.
nice. And it's great that you guys created this working relationship, based on your interactions through horror and goth, and now you've created your own entire industry through a production house.
I agree. And with all of those connections that we made, we wanted to kind of include them in this movie. And so all of those people that we've met over the years, and they've done stuff for us, we've done stuff for them. They're all in the movie, just about all of them. The Glass Coffin with Joey Slane, the Velvet Casket, Nosferatu Festival, Zombie Peep Show, the Curia Arcanum Cult Classic Convention. These are all people that we have a working relationship with that jumped in the movie with us. And I think it makes the movie feel like it's a bigger budget than what it is. It looks really great because of those people. And it serves as a time capsule almost for this time period of goth and horror in this area. It's pretty cool.
Right. There's one thing.
Corey can speak more on what he's doing with Horror
Please
Web,
go ahead,
though.
Corey.
Oh yeah, well, Horror Web Productions is essentially the core people that started off with the first film that she mentioned, which was a short film called The Witch's Bargain, and it is also a film about Scarah. It's a short that went on to win, over 50 international horror and just, I guess, non-genre as well, film festivals. So it kind of instilled in us the confidence that, hey, we can do this. None of us went to film school. We're just a bunch of artists. And so it definitely instilled that confidence in us that we have the ability to make movies. And so yeah, a Horror Web production team is largely the 4 or 5 people that have been a part of our shorts, The Black Quarry, now Damsel of the Doomed. And it's largely just a group of friends, artist friends coming together and doing something really cool. So it sort of has that, fun appeal to it. And we do have a lot of fun. So
There's one thing, and since Sarah, you wrote this, and I'm pretty sure you've been approached for it. That's why it made it the final cut of the film, of the scuzzy managers trying to get you to work certain sites. And I love how you break down the math and time, how it's just not worth it.
Yes. So those things are true. I've had that happen in real life. And somebody approached me about doing a photo shoot, and I checked them out, and I found out that they were doing this with a lot of female content creators, and they were putting all of the photos on their OnlyFans. And I was like, what? That's, first of all, if I'm going to do any of that, that's going to be on my own OnlyFans, and I don't have an OnlyFans. But when you do look at the OnlyFans math and you break it down, and this is all on Google, you'll find that unless you're one of the top creators, like any pyramid scheme, you're not going to, it's just not worth it time-wise. Now, I'm not knocking anyone who wants to do that. If they want to do it, and that's where they're making their money, God bless, it just, for me, never made sense.
Right. When you broke it down that the average person makes like 36 cents a day or whatever it was, $35 a week.
Yeah.
It was a great breakdown. And I think more people need to just see that scene alone so they understand what the financial aspect turns into.
I had some younger girls that saw a screening of the movie come to me after seeing it, and they were like, nobody talks about that. It's like this fantasy that anyone that joins these behind the paywall sites, they're all of a sudden going to be able to buy a house and a car and, live the life of their dreams. But it's not the case for most people, and the internet's forever. So it's a cautionary tale.
The fun part about this film is that we go through aspects of witchcraft, but you don't necessarily focus on spells or any of that stuff. You're like, oh, here's a crystal, and there's the pentagram for paganism and whatever else. And it's interesting that you don't use real spells because of how dangerous it could be, especially in putting it out there. Like you said, the internet's forever. You know, how cognizant were the two of you of that to make sure that it's implied and mentioned, but never go fully into it?
Well, for me, I think the main reason for that was a character-based reason, because what happens to my mother in the beginning, I am very weary of spell work. And today, that's another thing you got to be cautious about. In the wrong hands, any type of magic can be dangerous. So the the focus was kind of, there was a subplot, I guess you could say, of the fact that I dabbled in magic, but I wasn't utilizing it to drive my life until I started manifesting, which I thought was innocent enough, but even that has a dark side.
I've always
Yeah, I
told people
think
that, and they look at me like I'm crazy.
You
I think
have to be careful.
I think that what's really neat about, and I sort of compare it over to the Lord of the Rings movie where you have someone like Gandalf, and Gandalf doesn't use magic very often, and you're always just waiting for that moment. Like, we know he's this all-powerful wizard, but he hardly ever uses magic. And so when he does, it's impactful. And so I think when the film actually becomes supernatural, it has an impact because it's sort of not inundating the viewer with spells and these sort of things too. And so it definitely fits the character and the story to avoid it, but also I feel like that it works well from a narrative component because it gives those those supernatural aspects of the film impact.
And
So
that's a director talking for you. That's exactly right. Waiting for the big impact at the end.
Right. You know, take us through the Texas film scene now. A lot of people from California have moved out to Austin. Austin's kind of become its own little LA and Hollywood scene. San Antonio's blowing up in filmmaking. People are making movies in Dallas, where essentially you're saying you don't need the mainstream film industry anymore. How important is that for you as filmmakers, especially horror filmmakers in Texas? And what's the scene like in comparison to what we see out here in LA?
I'll give a short answer and then I'm going to turn it to Corey because he's actually dealing with this as we speak. My short answer is the big studio films, they are obsessed because it's a business. It's not about art. It's a business. So they are only making, it seems, almost most of the time anyway, movies that have established IP, intellectual property. That's what they're mostly doing because they know they're going to get their investment back. They'll get a great return on their investment. So anything that has established characters or it's a movie that's already, been done, like I Know What You Did Last Summer that came out in 1997. They have a new one coming out tomorrow. A new one, it's the same old thing. So that's what the studios are doing. It's just regurgitating and giving you things that already have established intellectual property because that is most likely going to give them their money back. But what it's not going to do is introduce you to new characters, storylines, content, fantasy, fun things, and imaginative stories, art. That's what it's not going to do. So that's what I like about the independent horror scene. Now I'm going to let Corey answer.
yeah, speaking towards the difference between something like LA and Austin, for example, we're out of Austin, Texas, is um, I can see this firsthand because I'm the co-founder of a Central Texas Directors Network, and I have around 80 directors, and a lot of them come from the LA area. And I think what's going down right now is that the locations are just too pricey in the Hollywood and LA area, and that's a large motivation for moving productions over to Texas, just generally Texas, because your sets and your locations are just much cheaper. Now, with regards to the incentives and to the big Texas boost in incentives, that definitely helps the big in-house productions like Landman and Chosen and these really big production houses that come in. And so what that does is it keeps Texas technical talent in Texas, and it also pours money back into the Texas community for those large productions. I wouldn't say personally it is super helpful for independent film. As an independent filmmaker at this point in my career, it's better for me to go to New Mexico or Kentucky or somewhere where the incentives don't have a minimum cap of $500,000 or $1 million or whatever Texas is. So the Texas incentives are geared toward these big in-house productions. And that is very useful to the technical film community who are looking for jobs, whether you're doing audio, post-production or visual, this sort of thing. Not necessarily super beneficial for independent, above the line filmmakers, I would say.
So quite similar to what California did. And it was interesting because Governor Abbott gave out 1.5 billion and it was a big deal. And then Governor Newsom gave out 750 million and people lost their minds. But like here it was, it would go towards Disney and Warner and Universal, whereas yours would also bigger production houses, Texas based. So it's interesting to see how that is really unfolding.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to help the film community in Texas. There's definitely components of it that are going to bring film here into Texas. But I mean, when you have a 5% incentive, unless you spend $1 million or more, I mean, that doesn't really help. It certainly doesn't help micro budget films, and it doesn't help small budget films very much because they're getting very little incentive. Where if I go to New Mexico or Kentucky, I'm getting a 30% kickback on incentives and for as little as a $70,000 or $80,000 ante up. So
No, and that's fantastic to find places that'll help you out in that regard.
mhm.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't like permit wise. I knew somebody who was a filmmaker, made an indie film, an indie drama, and there was a scene shot in his house, and it was in Pasadena. And LA County forces you to get a permit for everything. Mind you, this was an interior shot in his home, and his neighbor called the cops on him for not having a filming permit, and he was forced to get a filming permit in his own house. I told this person, if that was my neighbor and they were getting robbed, I would just sit there and watch. Because if you're going to call the cops on me for something so benign that's in my own house that doesn't concern you, I don't care if you get robbed at this point. Luckily, I have fantastic neighbors and I love them to death, and everybody looks out for each other in this neighborhood.
Technically, I believe you're supposed to get permits for shooting in your own house in Texas too, but we're not bitch made here, so we don't rat on people.
Yeah, it was just ridiculous. Corey, go ahead.
Oh, I was just like, yeah, that actually speaks to your neighbor relationship, I think. Yeah, I have a feeling there's some dark history there.
Let's hope it's dark history and not just some nosy neighbor that didn't mind their own business.
Yeah, either way. Ugh.
So you being Texas based, we're going to San Antonio. San Antonio is what, about a 6-hour drive from you guys? 7-hour drive? Well, Texas is probably longer.
It's just 2. We're just
Really?
2 hours away.
For some reason, I thought it was a lot further.
No, we're in the sweet spot of Texas. So we're 2 hours away from San Antonio, Houston, 3 hours from Dallas. I think it's called the Golden Triangle. But where I'm from originally, Lubbock, Texas, that's a good, 8 hours away from San Antonio.
Speaking of Lubbock,
Texas
Texas,
is
I just saw the play based on Buddy Holly's life, and he's from Lubbock, Texas.
That's right. Yeah, he's a big deal, big Lubbockite. Yeah. Buddy Holly and the Crickets.
If you get a chance to see the musical about his life, it's absolutely phenomenal. The last third turns into a full 1950s concert.
Oh, that sounds fabulous. I love his music. I didn't even know that was out there. I'll have to look into it.
Yeah, there's a production in Long Beach, California right now, and if it comes to you guys' area in Austin, you have to check it out. But being Texas locals and going to San Antonio, and this is the 31st annual San Antonio Film Festival, what does that feel like when it's an in-house festival that's like, come on down, you're a part of the family, you're in this, we're keeping it, centralized to Texas?
It
Yeah.
feels great.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I mean, I'll just say that San Antonio are so supportive. Both. I mean, Scare and I are also in a rock band, like a punk horror band, pop punk horror, and I've
Called
been
the Immortals.
yeah called the Immortals with a Z, and I've been a touring musician for a large part of my life, and San Antonio is one of those cities that is so super supportive of art in so many ways, in so many facets. In particular, the type of art that I've always done, which is hard rock music. And now, they have been accepting Damsel of the Doomed into their film festivals. And we were not so long ago in a Fiesta Texas Film Festival there. We were in the San Antonio Horror Film Festival there. Um, Man, they San Antonio is just loving Damsel of the Doomed, and we feel honored about that. So
San Antonio has a great horror community. They're constantly having horror festivals and doing fun things, fun and spooky things for Halloween. So yeah, their acceptance means the world.
Yeah, and that's
Where
awesome.
do you are you in California?
I'm in California. I'm flying out for the festival on Monday.
Wow. Where are you from originally?
Originally San Francisco. I'm currently in Orange County.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, we hope to meet you. I hope we get to meet you then.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be there all week, so we're gonna hang out after the screening and everything, and make sure everyone has a
Fabulous.
good time. So since
Great.
you guys have a band, were you the ones that wrote the score as well for the film, or did you bring outside musicians for this one?
there's only one outside musician, and actually you may know them. They're the band Resurrects. They're actually
They're
from
LA based, yeah, aren't they?
a bass band. Um, they they just so happened to be playing at the Nosferatu Festival while we were filming. And so we captured some of their live footage. They're included. Their live footage is included in the film whenever Scarah is attending this festival, Nosferatu Festival here. And I love their music, so we included their song. The rest of the music is either the Immortals music, so music that we wrote and I produced, or music that I just created with my drummer for the Immortals, Joshua Fontenot, music that we sort of created on our own. So it's almost all in-house soundtracks, except for the one Resurrect song. So.
Are you guys going to create a concept album that goes along with the vignettes and the small shorts that lead into the feature as well, as kind of like a companion piece?
I think he should. Corey's a great producer. He produces all of our music. I think that would be, he's so, I don't know if you have time for it, Corey, but people would love that, I think.
I think it would be fun to do. Yeah, it's a fun concept to think about for sure. We definitely wanted to write a song for the film, and so that's still out there as an option. So
Oh, yeah, we should do that and then release it on the album only. Fabulous idea. I love it.
See, there you go. Weird Al used to, so the Weird Al biopic that came out a few years ago was hilarious because it was based on a Funny or Die skit that was a parody trailer that he'd show at his concerts while changing, which got them to request the film to be made. And it's a parody on his entire life because if you made a biopic about Weird Al, it would actually be really boring. And I'm not saying that to be negative, but Weird Al came from a very loving family. He was class valedictorian at 16, graduated college at 20, decided to become a musician because he couldn't find a job because everyone thought he was too young, has been married to his wife for 30 years and everybody loves him. That doesn't make for an exciting biopic. So
Right.
if you watch
No
the
trials
film,
and tribulations. Yeah.
I'm sure he had his trials and tribulations, but not to the, like, it wasn't like drug abuse and like, yeah, ending up on the streets or anything of that sort. Like he's lived a pretty straight-laced life. So that doesn't make for a great biopic. So if you saw Weird and how off the rails it went, it made perfect sense. When you get to do something like that, mixing your music with your films, does it give you a sense of, it's not necessarily, I don't want to say accomplishment, but a sense of coming full circle because you've been a musician, you're now a filmmaker, and you've interconnected your artistic styles in multiple mediums in one source?
Yeah, it's definitely well, first off, from perspective of business of film, boy, it sure makes things a lot easier and cheaper, So it's nice, never as a regionally touring musician my whole life, never did I really think that, that I would be using my writing capabilities and audio production, engineering abilities for film. And so this was a very it's just really nice to be able to have that ability for this new sort of platform or art canvas that I have is, different directors come from different angles. A lot of directors, of course, come from the cam op angle or something. But like John Carpenter was an audio guy. Some of my favorite directors come from audio, engineering, this sort of thing. And so I'm definitely one of those people. So I, audio is important to me. Dialogue, soundscaping, that sort of thing. I hear that stuff when I'm directing and when I'm reading a script. I hear those things because of that's just who I am and what I've been doing for 20 years. And so it's nice to be able to pull something that I've been doing for decades and to leverage that as an artist on this new canvas of film.
Yeah. And when you get to mix the sound yourself along with your music into the film, how technical do you get? Because, as a filmmaker and as a musician or even a writer, you never quite feel that it's perfect. You always want to tinker with something. When do you know to let it go, whether it's the music that you've implemented in the film, whether it's an album you cut, or whether it's the final edit of a picture?
Yeah, I mean, there gets to a point as an artist that you have to recognize diminishing returns because I think all artists can play with something to death, really. And in the end, there's this sort of understanding. And it's the difference, I think, between being an artist and a producer. A producer will step up and say, okay, we're to the point of diminishing returns. You're off on some ledge out here. It's not going to make a difference. In fact, it could hurt the song or it could hurt the soundscape or the film. I'm, being the owner of a couple theme parks and having been forced to be a producer on all my bands in the past, I naturally have that good compromise mentally of the producer slash artist where I can stop myself and say, this is just me at this point. And also getting outside perspectives, like I'll shoot something over to the band or to Scarah a lot, or it just other people that have a fresh perspective on something. I'll send them over a couple versions and they'll be like, I don't hear any difference. At that point, then it's diminishing returns and I'm just out on a ledge doing something. And so luckily I do have a very business producery part of my brain that will shut off going down rabbit hole, too much of a rabbit hole.
I dig it. So Friday night, I'm unofficially calling it the creature feature night. Because that was a big thing. Friday night creature features. I don't know if that was in Texas or just a California thing, but you get the Friday night 9:30 slot. It's definitely for the Gothic crowd at this time. I'm a morning person, which cracks everybody up because everybody's going to sleep at 2, 3 o'clock, and I'm popping up around 4:30. What would you say for someone like me that's an early riser that wants to enjoy these types of films but just can't stay up late enough to do so?
Listen, Robert, it's Friday at 9:30, I believe. I think the movie clocks in at a good hour and a half. You're going to enjoy it, and then you can go back to your cozy hotel room and slip under those covers and have some fun dreams,
Just be showing up in my pajamas for the screening.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. Do it for the horror community, Robert.
So it's going to be Friday night. we're looking forward to it. I've seen the film. I've had a lot of fun with it, as I'm sure you guys had a lot of fun making it. What would you like audiences that are coming to it, whether fans of yours already, Gothic and horror fans, or just novices that just want to see a fun, campy film, get out of this picture?
I think for me, we set out to first and foremost have fun with this movie. It's really a love letter to the horror and goth community of Central Texas. It's a little old movie on a small budget, but we think it looks big, and it's kind of a tale about art imitating life, and then back to imitating art again. This movie, which is about in part manifestation, actually has made things from the movie come true in my real life. Like, for example, in the movie, I'm a horror host at a drive-in movie theater. And now I am a horror host at that drive-in movie theater in real life. It just kind of zoned right into that. And there are other things I could go on and tell you that have happened since the movie. So it's, to me, that's just kind of a neat little tidbit. But I think if it's a gem of a film, I think Corey did a great job directing it and doing all of the post-production stuff that he did. Our crew, everybody that was involved in this movie deserves all accolades out the wazoo, because there was really long days on set, and they all showed up again and again to help us make this film. And I'll be forever grateful to everyone who worked on it. So we'd love to share it with you guys. And I just want people to get out of it fun, just maybe a little nostalgia if they're familiar with horror movies like Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. But it's our movie has its own thing going for sure. Corey, what do you think? What do you want people to get?
Yeah, I think that what this film represents is true independent horror, and it's packed full of practical effects and nostalgia for the things that inspired us when we were growing up. And I think it's going to be a fresh breath of air from the bigger productions, and it's going to feel intimate. And I think that when people leave the film, I hope that they get a sense of that there are still unique, intimate indie films being made, and that we haven't forgotten sort of the past of filmmaking and sort of where it all started. And I think this was really what we were trying to communicate with this film. And so as long as people leave with those feelings, I think it's a mission accomplished.
Corey, Trahan, Scarah, Damsel of the Doomed. The film Damsel of the Doomed, Friday, July 25th at 9:30 p.m. in the McLaughlin Rotunda room at the Tobin Center for the Performing Arts in San Antonio, Texas, at the 31st Annual San Antonio Film Festival. Thank you so much for your time today. Where can we find you guys on social media? Where can we find the film itself? And also, Corey, don't forget to send me the links to the theme park so I can include them in the body of the post.
You can find me on most social media at Scarah_Damsel of the Doomed. Horror Web is on Instagram and Facebook as well, at Horror Web. Corey, what about, Bat City on Instagram. What else?
Bat City Scare Grounds, Nightmare on 19th Street, 2 Halloween theme parks in Texas. You can follow the
Immortals with a Z.
Just type in The Immortals. It'll take you to our YouTube channel. It'll take you to our Spotify, Apple Tunes, whatever you stream music on.
We have a lot of fun music videos.
Yeah, you'll love them. We shoot a lot of music videos at my theme park here in Austin. So, and so yeah, you can go actually watch The Black Quarry, which was it actually features Scarah as the creep show style host. You can watch it on streaming apps like Amazon,
Tubi,
YouTube,
YouTube.
So check that out. And if you watch Damsel, you can watch The Black Quarry when you go home, and you can kind of see the connection there between the two. It's a lot of fun. And so yeah, I think just to be able to follow everything we're doing, almost everything sort of synergizes at Horror Web. So go follow Horror Web on Instagram or Facebook, or our YouTube channel. So
fantastic. Thank you for your time. Again, 31st Annual San Antonio Film Festival, July 25th, 9:30 p.m., Damsel of the Doomed. It's been a lot of fun. Can't wait to see you guys next week in person.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for
You
having
have the golden pipes of a radio DJ. You sound amazing. Wonderful voice.
Thank you.